Okay, can you hear me? Anyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was having audio issues, sorry. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, or good evening now.
And my apologies, I don't know what's with my computer, but I do not have jaundice. I just, I know I've been coming up looking very yellow.
Alexis, your background is too, so it's all blending in. You're fine. You're fine.
Great. At least I'm consistent.
You're fine. Angel, how are we for quorum? No, not yet. I can see.
Yeah, we're like too short, I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Carrie. All right. Not too bad. Okay, hi everyone that has joined. We're just waiting a few minutes for quorum before we get started. So just give us a few and then we will start the meeting this evening. Thank you. Okay, hi everyone that joined. Sorry, we're just waiting. I think we need one more person for quorum and then we're going to get started. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for everyone who was on time. Appreciate you. And we'll get started shortly. Hi, Benny, aka Michelle. If you're speaking, you are muted, but hi, nice to see you. And hi, Jenny, how are you? Hi.
Marissa, we're good for quorum. I'll start.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Angel. Okay, good evening. Oh, go ahead, the recording.
Go ahead, it was recording the whole time.
Oh, good. Okay. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. My name is Marissa Mack. I'm the chair of the Economic Development and Culture Committee for Community Board 11. I hope all is well. We are getting ready to get started this evening. Angel, you can advance to the next slide. Thank you all for being here. So a few ground rules before we get started. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear and you should find the raise hand function there. If you still have technical difficulty, you may click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. No one may, Okay. Board members, the chat function should not be used for CB11 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. Please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom and wait to be recognized. Okay, so I am now calling tonight's meeting to order at 6:37 p.m. Angel, if you could please call the roll.
Certainly. Committee members, when I call your name, please answer present. Stephanie Arroyo,
Present.
April Autry,
Present.
Adem Briha,
Present.
Devin Cronshaw,
Present.
Marissa Mack,
Present.
Giselle Malave,
Giselle, you're muted. Okay.
Jennifer Meyer, Jessica Morris, Robert Perez, Eugene Rodriguez, Vinnie Torres, Jenny Tromsky.
Present.
You have quorum.
Thank you. And also, Angel, I don't know if you saw in the chat, but Giselle said she was unable to mute for some reason. So she's
Oh, wow.
here.
Okay,
But-
thank you. I'll work on it.
Perfect, thank you. So the agenda was passed around previously. If there are no objections to the agenda, we will move forward. Are there any objections? If so, please state so by raising your hand. Okay, seeing no objections, we are moving forward. Meeting minutes have not been provided. We do have our recording for your reference if you would like to refer back to any previous meetings. So that is available through the CB11 website, YouTube page, correction. Announcements, just letting everyone know, next month will be our last meeting before we adjourn for the summertime. So if there's any pending business or any items that you'd like to bring forth this month, obviously at the end, if there's anything that you'd like to, speak on, and or next month is the final month for doing so before we break for summer and then starting back in September. Also just reminding people that there will be obviously new members to the board coming up in the new year. So there may be a shift in the committee and shift in assignments, but hoping that everyone is continuing the work for the upcoming fiscal year. Those are all the announcements that I have at this time.
If I could, I just wanted to add one thing for both our members and for attendees. With the weather warming up finally, thank goodness, we're starting to get a lot of community event notifications. We're trying to keep as up to date and be as inclusive as possible. Just a reminder to everyone that we do keep all those announcements on our webpage, on the community events page of our webpage. If you look for this week, like it's chock-a-block with events for the next couple of weeks. I'm embarrassed I said chock-a-block. It's full of events for the next couple of weeks. So just encouraging you, if you're looking for something to do or something to recommend to someone else to do in our community, there's plenty of stuff to do.
Plenty to do, absolutely. Thank you, Angel. Thanks so much. Oh, I'm sorry. There is one announcement that I do want to make. I will be attending on the 22nd the Harlem Arts Alliance, and for anyone that is on the call that's connected to the arts in any way, is looking to kind of ensure that there's representation across all of Harlem for all things that are going on related to arts awareness. And so they're having now a second meeting on cultural events, art events that are taking place throughout East, Central, and West Harlem. And that will be again on Monday, the 22nd. I'm happy to share that information with Angel so that he can share it out, but for cultural institutions or anyone working within the art space in any way, I think this is a helpful meeting just to ensure that partnerships are taking place, that people are aware of what's going on both sides of Harlem, and that there's more engagement from both ends. So wanted to make that announcement. And that's it.
Thank you, Marissa. We did receive that flyer, and we do have it on the events calendar.
Perfect. Okay, great, Angel. Thank you so much. And excuse me, I have a cold. But moving forward, so my informational updates and announcements I just provided. And so now we will move on to Carrie King at Uptown Grand Central. Carrie, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Carrie King. I'm the director of Uptown Grand Central. For those of you who don't know, we are an organization that does placemaking and economic development and small business support. Founded along East 125th Street. We try to help across East Harlem when we can. And so our updates for this month are, I know Marissa wants to know about the downtown revitalization initiative, so I'm going to drop that in the chat. The Downtown Revitalization Initiative is a $10 million award that is to all of East Harlem. We, Uptown Grand Central, helped to write it and get it here, along with the Borough President, Mark Levine, and Secretary of State, Robert Rodriguez. And it is $10 million in capital improvement. So that means like infrastructure, building type things, not programming, but infrastructure, things you can build or make. Or improve a store or improve a public space. And that process, it's a whole process. So it's going to kick off in June. The state has selected a group of committee members who have undergone a conflict of interest and like integrity training. Not that they needed it, they're pretty good people, but and then over the course of the summer and the fall, they will be accepting, they're going to get trained, and then they're going to be accepting proposals from anyone in East Harlem who wants to suggest a project that their organization can take on. So stay tuned for that. That's as much information as I have right now. You can click on the link to learn about the ways that different communities that have also won this award have used their funding, storefront improvements, improving pocket parks or streetscape, just making the neighborhood look like a destination that people would want to come to and spend money here. So that's that. I'm happy to take any questions about that later. I know Marissa's also going to ask me about the Business Improvement District because we've been working alongside elected officials and stakeholders on East 125th Street to explore the creation of a Business Improvement District for Northeast Harlem. And the status of that is exciting. We were able, the steering committee has selected an assessment formula. So for those of you who are new to Business Improvement Districts, East Harlem is the only community district in Manhattan that does not have a business improvement district. Business improvement districts were founded 30, 40 years ago along commercial corridors where the city was not providing enough services to make those commercial corridors be someplace that people would want to come to. So the stakeholders themselves, the property owners, basically began to tax themselves, like it came up with an assessment. And then all contributed to a pot that then became a larger pot of money for things like street cleaning, beautification, district marketing, things like that. Being that East Harlem is the only one that doesn't have one, we've been working to see if we could create one along East 125th Street and have been working for about a year and a half to figure out all the ins and outs of it. I think in the last meeting, I talked too long about the formula, but I just wanted to give you a sense that like the formula, which is basically the assessment rate that will be applied to East 125th Street, is we've been really, really sensitive to the fact that a lot of the new areas, and especially East 125th Street, will have a lot of affordability built into the structure of the way that the financing of the buildings are built. So we're using an element, a variable that has never been used before in all of big creation in New York City called taxable value. And that's kind of the wonkish way to say it's a specific number that takes into account if a building has affordable elements. And then that way the assessment that's on that building is lower in accordance to the affordability requirements, which sounds pretty easy, but it's actually a lot more complicated than it sounds when it comes to the city tax roll and like data and variables that are acceptable and available for this sort of thing. So that's exciting. The formula also takes into account secondary corridors, knowing that 125th and Lex is the hottest of hotspots, and that, you know, corridors that are a little bit further away don't need quite as much intensity. And so there's different elements to it, but that's exciting. We've kind of gotten through that. So we've got our vision, and then some of the other components. And so sometime over the summer, we'll go into an outreach phase, which will be to move beyond the steering committee into the community to share more information. So stay tuned for that. And then, not to talk too long, but just to give you a sense of the other things that Uptown Grand Central is working on. We, of course, are doing street cleaning every day. We planted some flowers with Harlem Children's Zone. And then there's a bunch of events happening this Friday. Councilmember Richardson Jordan's office is going to do a Malcolm X celebration, including at the 125th Street Plaza. Stay tuned for more details. It's planned by her office, so I'm waiting for more details from them. And then on Saturday, we're doing Marcus Garvey Park cleanup with Harlem Yoga Studio. You can get a free yoga class if you come clean with us. I'm going to drop that in the chat too. And then over the course of the next few weeks, we're doing mocktail rides, which is in partnership with El Barrio Bikes. And so we're leading rides across Harlem. The next one is in East Harlem, where you can visit local small businesses and sample zero-proof drinks, which is really, really fun. And then Open Streets will be opening start of June, and we're going to be going through September at both 115th Street and at 101st Street, 100th Street, which is exciting. There'll be a ton of different activities at each Open Street, including a Pride event at 115th Street. And there's going to be a big Brazilian event at Bar Guayana in June as well at 100th Street. So stay tuned for more information about that. And then Make Music New York is coming up on June 21st, and Jazzmobile is going to be coming to our plaza at 125th Street to do a concert with some legendary jazz musicians that if you were a jazz head, you will know their names and be impressed by. And then in July, we're going to do a pop-up with Classical Theater of Harlem, which Alexis will tell you more about later. But I'll be quiet for now, and thank you so much for having me and my son, who's trying to get on the screen.
Hi, Kai. Thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you for your presentation and all of your work within the community. I do have a few quick questions for you just about some of the programming. Open Streets is Pleasant Avenue just out. I mean, it's too much. It's too much.
It's on a bus route, and so it's not. I think, you know, the city is looking. The Open Street started as a pandemic program just to get people out on the street, give people more space to breathe and be together. And so I think those first couple of years, the city made a lot of, you know, we'll shut down anything. Mm-hmm. And now when we're looking into making it more sustainable, it doesn't make sense to interrupt major traffic flows. So like 115th Street is just like a little connector between the La Marqueta retail market and La Placita. It gets closed a lot anyway. So that kind of makes sense. And 101st Street has been a play street for, you know, 60 years. Right. So those are kind of staple, but it inconveniences people on Pleasant Avenue that are trying to get to the mall and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it's not as great a spot.
It's not as great. I know, I totally get it. I guess my other question too, I'm not sure if this is anything that you have heard of or had any information. I'll also ask Benny about, but the pilot program for bodegas, the safety and security pilot program, not sure if you've heard of that, and or if there is any information about, I believe they're doing it in the Bronx and a bit in Manhattan as well, but I just didn't know if there were any bodegas, and hoping that this will extend out to restaurants, because we had spoken about this before, you know, in terms of security for restaurants and things that they need. So just didn't know if you had any more information about that or knew of any bodegas or, you know, establishments within our community that are participating in that.
I haven't received any information about it coming to East Harlem. I don't know if Benny has.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. So I just want to open it up. Thank you again, Carrie. We will also ping you at the end of this meeting for the request and for ask. That will be a vote, but just wanted to open it up for any other questions from the committee. Jessica?
Thanks, Marissa. And just point of clarification, Carrie, on the downtown revitalization grant process, it's going to start with the selection committee and ability to submit ideas in June, and then how quick does it move? Because they want this money spent fast, right? How do you have a sense of that?
Right, they want the money spent fast. Everything has to be vetted, is my understanding, and it's the vetting and the spending of government money that is a process. So there is a consultant that's going to be working with the group, and it's called Modern Urban Design Workshop. I can get you the exact name.
Metropolitan urban design. Yeah,
Oh, you know, okay, great. Yeah,
I do know Shachi. Yeah.
Yes. So and so they're going to be basically facilitating the projects, and because capital, infrastructure stuff is not just pop-up tents. It's like actual putting things in the ground, and so their firm is going to work with the people who propose and make sure that the projects are things that can happen, and also that the financing for each of the projects works. But all of this, I don't have all the full information, but we will begin to learn it at the start of June.
I guess I'm just looking for is it something that the process would unfold in like the next 3 to 6 months, and then a project would be selected and move forward, or is it something that might take up to a year to better understand what direction we're going to move in? I don't know if you have like a ballpark understanding.
The basic outline that they have given is that the projects are selected by the fall, and then I don't know how long it takes to like lock them all in, but it's definitely, they're not trying to stretch it out.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Carrie, so much. Stay on. We do have a request from you that we'll be addressing later on in the meeting, but thank you for letting us know about everything that you guys are doing right now. All right, so moving on to our union settlement. Benny, thank you for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Marissa.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for asking me. So quickly, we had our cash mob at Zapoera on April 30th, and thank you, Giselle, for being a great host. Thank you for being a great host. Sorry. We also had Jane's Walk on May 6th. That one of those Jane's Walks was led by Aurora Flores, excuse me, and the other was led by Christopher Bell. And those were great. I actually joined in on one of them. It explored the salsa heritage around East Harlem. And I learned a lot. I mean, Aurora's like a walking national treasure, so that was great. If you guys ever get an opportunity next year to go on a Jane's Walk, do so. We had our La Villa meeting to kick off the month. We are working with Youth Action, Youth Build on enhancing the tree pits along the 116th corridor. We currently have 3 tree pits done, and so what that involves is basically very basic, just sanding down all of the tree pits, painting, putting pebbles to make it more aesthetically pleasing. And we've got youth working on that. We've also got sanitation services that began along the corridor as well. Positive Work First is covering First to Park Avenue, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Merchants have been reporting improvement in the streetscape with the new sanitation services. We're also hitting high gear to coordinate and finalize power washing and restorations along the corridor. and other businesses in East Harlem. And then we've got a trolley tour coming up next week on Wednesday, March 24th, and that's going to feature content creators on a trolley tour, going around to multiple stops along East Harlem. That includes the Comedy Club, Amor Cubano, and a couple other places. And so get people talking about East Harlem and so forth. We are also co-sponsoring a webinar that's upcoming with Start Small, Think Big. It's on FDA regulations. I don't have the date in my notes right now, but if anyone is interested, please do connect them to me. And then East Harlem Nights is coming up in June. So that's gonna be 4 Fridays in June, June 9th, June 16th, June 23rd, and June 30th. And so we're bringing vendors from all over East Harlem, artisans. We're bringing live music to the community garden behind Union Settlement, the Union Settlement Community Center. And yeah, we're hoping to get as many people to come out to that as possible. We've already got about 30 vendors signed up to vend. We've got over 300 RSVPs. And so it's just about getting the word out. We've got posters. We went out and to different businesses and handed out posters and postcards featuring East Harlem Nights specifically. We've got banners up. We also did the Link NYC this time around. So you might catch us on there. It looks pretty dope. They did the custom design and allowed us to put the full digital map up there, as well as an advertisement for East Harlem Nights. So that was nice. It's going to be 6 to 9 p.m. and almost every Friday except for the first Friday of June. And it's if you guys have been a part of it before, you should know it's a lot of fun, and so we're gonna make it poppin' then those nights. It's gonna be a busy June. But other than that, that's what I've got for you guys. Thank you.
Unmute. Sorry, thank you, Benny. I was unable to unmute for some reason, but thank you so much for presenting. Union Settlement has a lot going on for the upcoming summer months, and glad that you guys are bringing back the East Harlem Nights at Union Settlement. So that's amazing. Also, just wanted to ask, how was it? And I'm glad that you were able to ping Link NYC. They've been at a number of our meetings, and there's a little bit of controversy there as to the cell towers, but still being able to use the existing kiosk for advertising, I think, is a wonderful thing. So if there's anyone on this call that needs to advertise their business, you are able to do so. And you know, we can connect you if needed to anyone over there that can help you advertise on there. But happy to see that Union Settlement, you have been able to take advantage of that and work with them to do advertising for some of your programming. So that's good to hear. I don't have any questions, but I do see Giselle. You have a question?
Hello, good evening. Thank you for presenting. So you have 30 vendors signed up. How many are you looking in total to sign up for the East Harlem Nights?
So we're looking to have at least 19 vendors each Friday. So depending on when people are available, we're breaking that down now. So depending on when people are available, then we'll place people accordingly. But 19 is the goal for each, the max at least it is.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Benny, actually on that question too, have you decided, I've seen the flyer, but I didn't see the sign up to vend for people that may want to vend. But also too, do you know which weekends you still have space available, or is every weekend filled, or you know, where are you guys, or every Friday, not weekend, but every Friday filled?
Like I said, I think it depends on what we find when we take a closer look at who's selling what and stuff like that, and we start placing people accordingly. To their availability and also like what they're selling the products to. We want to make sure that everybody's featured prominently. And I missed that first part of your question.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just asking if you have selected, everyone yet, or kind of like what's the placement? So it sounds like you're still figuring out who's going to be vending on
Yeah.
what Friday, depending on their schedule and your needs.
Yep.
Got it.
Thank you.
All right, no problem. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you so much, Benny. Thank you for presenting. And so next we have El Museo.
Don't see anyone on from El
Yeah, I don't
Museo.
see. Yeah, okay. So they may hop on later. I think what we're gonna do is just move along, and if we have representation from there, then we will circle back. So our first presentation this evening will be from Alexis Mornell with the Uptown Shakespeare, I'm sorry, with Classical Theater of Harlem, but presenting on Uptown Shakespeare in the Park Summer for 2023. So Alexis, you do have the floor.
Thank you and good evening, everybody. So this summer will be our 11th season in Marcus Garvey Park. We have a world premiere this summer. It is a play called Malvolio. It is an original sequel to Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, written by an Arab American woman playwright, who's our Mellon playwright in residence, Betty Shamia. And we are once again going to do the vendor pop-up program in conjunction with Uptown Grand Central. That will be on Thursdays through Sundays. We do run, we're really going to start July 7th. And the last day will be July 29th, but July 5th and 6th will be us getting tech and previews, etc. So the pop-up program that we do not charge the vendors. We provide and Uptown Grand Central helps us provide the booths and the tents and the tables for free, which is wonderful. And it was a big hit last year, and we look forward to having it again be successful, which I know it will. And then next year, we hope to bring it up to the next level and do some more days and a little longer hour. We're adding another layer to our time there. One of them is we're partnering with On Point Harm Reduction Center. They're going to be our social service organization on site, if you will. When we load in on June 26th, they're going to be there with us, helping those that live in that Richard Rogers amphitheater, making sure they have a place to go, what do they need, etc. And they're going to be with us basically the whole run as an on-site social service outreach provider. We'll have hydration kits, clothes, things like that. We are also working with, I have to look this up too, Columbia Presbyterian and the Children's Health Fund. We were hoping to get their pediatric van there, but they are having trouble staffing the van. So we're working with, it will be a pediatric dental van. We're going to make that a little earlier. And so kids can go and they'll have not only the education, they can get checkups, and then they'll get the referral to where they can get their teeth fixed for free. Or whatever issues that might come up for the little ones. I mean, it's cute. They work with puppets and all the stuff. It's really sweet. We are also working with, excuse me, Harlem Needle Arts will also have a vendor or two at the pop-up shop. Project Renewal for the medical van. Italian American Cancer Society will have the mammogram screening van at some point. And we're going to continue with our summer youth employment program. working with El Barrio Operation Fight Back and also with Union Settlement School. This year, we're going to do it a little differently. We are going to interview kids beforehand to make sure that they are interested in the theater arts and want some sort of a background in that. And the kids that we're working with are going to be 18 to 24-year-olds. And because we are not going to really be advertising our preview days on like the 5th and the 6th and the 7th, those will be the kids' training days as well. And I've also been, I was connected to the Division of Mental Health and Hospitals. And they are going to be working with us on doing some other activities around the park as sort of mental health, you know, stigma busting events, if you will. And I think that's it. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Alexis, and happy to see that the partnerships this year have certainly grown from last year, and that's great. And I'm sure every year you'll continue to build on that. I have a question about the vans. So are they coming inside the park or will they be outside of the park? How is that going to work?
So you know that part on Mount Morris Park West that has like those lanes, like in front of, let's say, you know, we're in Pelham Fritz. So they'll be more like on that side.
Okay, got it. Okay.
But we're also going to work with Truro College, but they're probably going to have a table because they're just going to do vision screening and different testing.
Okay.
And
So
so it'll be.
assuming... Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, so there we're just going to use that part, you know what I'm talking about, where there has places for buses where they usually have some sort of a medical van parked, like on that side.
Okay. And so will it be every week will be a different setup, or all of those vans and buses will be there?
Yeah, for right now,
Yeah.
it will be a different setup every week because this
Okay.
is really the tester for it.
Mhm.
And then, like we said, I mean, every year we want to build and build and build. We're gonna right now we're gonna try to just keep everything from the Thursdays to Sunday block. You know, because we are we're a small team and we do punch above our weight, but you know, there's days that Ty has to say to me, "Alexis, get realistic." I'm like, yeah, I know.
I know.
Because I'd like to have everything going on all at once.
I know.
But you know, it's something to build and build upon, and hopefully, I really wanted that pediatric mobile van, but unfortunately, was some of the issue with a lot of the people I spoke to. They're having staffing issues. So
Understood.
that's another reason why it can't be as much as I would like it to be. So hopefully by next year, things like that will have worked out for the better.
Understood. Great. Thank you, Alexis.
Thank you.
Giselle?
Hi, Alexis. Thank you for presenting. My question is the 18 to 24-year-olds that you're going to be interviewing as you said, volunteers, correct?
It's no summer youth employment program.
Okay, great. Because we have a lot of youth here that, you know, they're just a couple of weeks away from finishing school. So it's good to grab them now, even maybe if you could pay a visit to some of the schools here. And I know 18 to 24 is like more of an older age bracket, but there are a lot of youth that even, you know, that would probably be interested in theater or the employment. So if you need help with that, let us know so we can send some people your way or, you know, any.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I would love to have them younger, but part of the reason is because we're in that park so late, I can't have kids under 18 in there. That if anything happens, like I would go off the deep end. Yeah. So for just the protection of, you know, our youth and also being in, you know, Marcus Garvey Park, if you're 15 years old, you know, at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night going home, you know, that's a safety issue. But I have been speaking to the gentleman over at Union Settlement about his students, and then El Barrio Operation Fight Back. They said they're going to have job fairs this year.
Okay.
Last year I didn't meet the kids, they just showed up, we were just told. So we're going to make that a little bit different this year so that the kids are set up for success throughout the entire time.
Thank you, Alexis.
Thank
And
you.
Alexis, I think too, and Giselle, thanks for asking that. I think it's good to see this year. You can compare to this year and then compare to last year, right? And see, I'm happy that you're trying something different because it was a different experience last year in regards to the dedication and then also, who you had on site to kind of help. So it's good to, switch it this year, see if the 18 to 24, not that there would be an issue because of age, but just testing it out to see how that works a little bit differently than the summer youth employment individuals you had last year, which could be for a number, any number of reasons. But I think that it's good to switch up this year and at least see how it works. So.
Yeah, and like I talked to the union settlement and El Barrio Operation Fight Back, and they, really agreed. And and Ty Jones and I will both be training the kids. So they'll getting for the first few days. So they'll be getting training from a legit famous actor who's also our producing artistic director, which would be a great experience for them.
Absolutely.
So we just wanted to make it better for everybody all around.
Got it. I'm gonna go Stephanie and then Jessica.
Thank you. So I just have two questions. And I think one of them you may have already answered. So you usually do this through SYEP every
Yes.
year. You try to, right?
We did it
And-
last year, yeah.
Last year, okay. And then is it always Operation Fight Back that facilitates for you?
No, last year, it was union settlement. I put in my application and, Operation Fight Back was the first person that got back to me.
Got you. Okay.
And then, union settlement reached out to me shortly thereafter.
Got you. The only reason I'm asking is because when you find youth that like want to do certain things and they may want to like be engaged in something of this magnitude, right? We can let them know because applications for SYP have already closed. So we can we can kind of gear them to, I obviously applied through Operation Fight Back or through Union Settlement if we already have pre-knowledge that like you're gonna go through that organization so they can, just to help
Yeah.
them out,
But if you have another organization that would be interested, please send them my way.
Definitely.
Because I'm happy to, I'm happy to spread the wealth. Maybe have 2 kids from one site, 2 kids from another site, something like that.
How many kids in total? If you said it, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I'm sorry, say it again, dear.
How many kids do you employ in total, or you try to?
Well, we said 6, but we can fiddle around with that if need be.
Gotcha. Thank you, though. I appreciate you having this program. This is awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, last year was a little tough because I worked with SYEP and other positions in other places. I think coming out of the pandemic, kids were just like, all right, here we are. I'm out, but what am I supposed to do? It was just a little different.
And Alexis, last year was the first year with Classical Theater of Harlem, right? I mean, you guys
Yes.
hadn't done that previously. So this
No,
is
they had
also,
not.
Stephanie, this is like, they haven't had like years of this. This is all trial and error. So any, ideas that you have or anything else, that you think would be helpful, I think, would be good to hear about. So, Jessica?
Thank you, Marissa, and thanks, Alexis, for the work you're doing. It's not easy to put on a show, let alone a whole season of shows. I was involved in a conference last week and heard from a number of incredibly impressive youth who are engaged in the theater arts. The organization in the Bronx is called the Dream Yard Project.
Oh, yeah.
You familiar with Dream Yard?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I was a teaching artist for 20 years. This is my retirement job.
Good. I mean, our catchment, while, we focus on East Harlem, I think, the assets that we're cultivating here, can extend, it doesn't have to stop at the river. And I think if finding the right match for the point of opportunity really that you are cultivating this year, I think you're starting out in the right frame of mind to say, do you love theater? Do you want to make the most of this opportunity? And there's a kind of incredible stepping stones along the way. So, while serving East Harlem kids is absolutely a priority, I think recognizing that if that interest is not met here, there's no shortage of interest for youth who, can be future East Harlem residents, right? In some kind of way, if we're doing it right. So if you're connected up there already, I would just, Premiard seemed like they had a lot of really smart, committed and capable visionary folks who may be able to lend some hands.
Yeah, that would be great. Like I said, I'm open to any and all suggestions, especially as, we build upon this year after year. I mean, one of my goals really is to really find an intern in that 18 to 24-year range that can be with us all year and learn different things and grow. I have a foundation that gives me a little pot of money for something like that. So, I've been trying to work with Ali Forney Center, but to no avail as of yet. So if anybody has any connections there, please send them my
We
way.
have people on the call this evening that actually have a connection coming up soon. So,
Yay!
so you can probably connect afterwards. So funny that you say that. But let's move on. So Eugene and then Giselle, is your question really pending, or if not, we need to move?
Yeah.
No, it's just so that Alexis could put her email in the chat so I could send somebody her way.
Perfect.
Sure.
Thanks, Giselle. Eugene?
Yeah, thank you, Chairwoman. Two things. One, Scan Harbor at the Heckscher Building has a wonderful child acting group, and maybe you should get in contact with them. And secondly, you should see my play, the San Juan Shakespeare Company.
I'm sorry, say that again, sir. I couldn't hear you.
Scan Harbor has a wonderful children's theater group in the Heckscher Building. You should get in contact with them. They also have access to the 600-seat theater at the Bruce Hill. And you should see my play, the San Juan Shakespeare Company.
Okay. Send it our way. Send it my way. And also, if anybody doesn't have anything to do Thursday night, we have our poker tournament fundraiser at Alhambra Ballroom from 6 to 11. Just go on our website if you feel so inclined.
Perfect.
And I think that is it.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Alexis. Thanks for presenting as always. Nice to see you. We'll talk soon.
Yes, I'll stay on the line.
Oh, great.
I'm going to stay on because I want to hear from Ali Forney, who those people are.
Yes, they're not specifically on, but we do have, hi Derek, how are you? We do have Ascendant Neighborhood Development, who's actually going to be talking about a project. I believe Ali Forney is somehow involved with this, and so we will hear from them, and also I guess Al Hu. So Derek, if you are ready, you do have the floor.
Hey everyone, good evening. My name is Derek Gaskill. I am the project manager at Ascendant Neighborhood Development. I'm here in place of Chris Cirillo, our executive director and president, who had a conflict for the evening, but sends his regards. And it's very nice to see some familiar faces that I haven't seen in a while. AL has a presentation that they're gonna pull up. Cool. And then we'll get started.
It says it's loading.
Well, I'll get started while it's loading, so I don't take too much of y'all's time. So like I said, my name is Derek Gaskill. I'm with Ascendant Neighborhood Development. We're a community development corporation nonprofit located in East and Central Harlem. We have 28 buildings of affordable housing scattered throughout East and Central Harlem. And we're in pre-development of a bunch more projects as well. Tonight, I'm here to present on 244 East 106th Street, also known as the Sharon YC building. A lot of folks on this call have heard this presentation like 5-6 times in the last 2 weeks. We've been making our rounds. We were at the full board meeting land use committee, housing, probably more than I'm forgetting, and now we're here. We also presented on this project 2 years ago now to this committee as well. Let me see if I can pull it up, Al.
Yeah, I'm
I was
sorry.
gonna say, or do you want to share it? Angel may be able to assist if you guys are able to send it over, if you have a presentation.
Sure.
Yeah, let me, okay, yes, I'm gonna send the link right now.
Hey, Ariel, good to see you.
Hi, good to see you too. Angel, I just put the link in the chat.
Perfect. Thanks, Angel.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Angel. Cool.
Okay.
Okay, we can skip ahead some to like the fourth slide. You can keep going. These are just by the numbers of what we do, how many apartments we have, and in the pipeline. Great, perfect. Oh, nope, you're good. Excellent. And this is just a map showing our impact in the neighborhood. We are going on our 35th year in the neighborhood. We were founded in 1988, and we'll be celebrating our 35th anniversary with a fundraiser on May 31st. Next slide, please. So we, for this project, it is a supportive housing project that's geared towards LGBTQ, or that's geared towards youth ages 16 to 24, with an emphasis on being LGBTQ friendly. It's a joint venture with the Ali Fournier Center, whose mission is to serve homeless LGBTQ youth. Next slide, please. And here's just some stats on the hardships that LGBTQ youth face and why we are making sure our building is LGBTQ friendly. Next 2 slides. Thank you. So currently the reason why we're going through all of the community board committees, besides saying hello and updating you all, is that we're actually currently in the ULURP process. The applicant team is NYC HPD, and we certified for ULURP on March 2023. Again, the building is a residential building with 32 rooming units. We'll get into what that means, plus 1 live-in manager's unit. And it's being developed using HPD's supportive housing loan program. It's going to be an acquisition of city-owned land and a disposition of the site. Next slide, please. So the Share NYC project, which is the program that this is going through, came out of the New York Housing 2.0, which was the housing plan under Mayor de Blasio. In 2018, HPD released the Share NYC request for expressions of interest to explore shared housing, which was defined as private bedrooms with shared kitchens and or bathrooms or other shared spaces. It was the requirement for the RFEI was that you had to come with a lot in already established. So this wasn't HPD giving away land. This was lots that we already had. Next slide, please. Cool. So this is just the project timeline. Like I said, we're currently in the ULURP process. We were just last week given a recommendation by the land use committee, which means that the community board will have a vote on it, and then we'll be going to the borough president and then to the city the city council as well. We hope to complete this in fall of 2023. We'll be using 9% tax credits, which have applications that only come up once a year for this project. That'll be in the spring. Hopefully we get awarded those, and then in fall 2020 we'll start construction. Next slide, please. So project overview. I know I've talked sort of around the project, but we can get into specifics of it. So this is going to be a 10-story new construction building, and it'll have 4 shared housing units. So there'll be 1 kitchen per unit, but there'll be 1 kitchen unit per unit with 8 separate bedrooms. So there'll be private bedrooms with shared amenities. There'll be large living areas, so larger kitchen, larger living room, and there'll be 2 ADA bathrooms per floor, so 4 per housing, per shared housing unit. It's going to be 100% affordable shared housing, and we're committing to all the local hiring in collaboration with local workforce development training programs and MWB subcontractors. Next slide, please. So the site's located right on 106th Street, almost at the corner of 2nd Avenue. We own 3 buildings in this corner. They're all 100% affordable. They were acquired by Ascendant in the 1990s and rehabbed during that time. And then they also went through a more recent rehab a couple of years ago. Next slide, please. So here's the building, or here's the site in context. So like I said, we own the building to the right of it, the red building. It's a 7-unit affordable housing building. When that building was given to Ascendant in the 1990s by HPD, the lot where that's highlighted in orange, where the Sharon YC building is going to go, was conveyed to us as well. It currently doesn't have any use. It's not accessible by the residents of that building, and so it's just a vacant lot. When the East Harlem rezoning passed a couple of years back, it gave us the opportunity to upzone that lot and also to start considering it for development. Next slide, please. So this is a look at the shared housing concept. So before the Share NYC RFEI was issued, we started to look at how to develop this really small plot of land using traditional HPD standards. So we looked at doing 1-bedroom units, and we also looked at doing micro units. And then on the right, you can see the shared housing concept, which allowed us to make smaller bedrooms with shared living spaces, which makes it more economical to build, and also just really fits maximizing the site more. Next slide, please. Cool. And this building is in the floodplain, like a lot of buildings in East Harlem, which requires that all the mechanicals, or most of the mechanicals, have to be on the first floor above the floodplain. So you see we have a cellar on the left-hand side that's going to be flood-proofed. The middle drawing there is the ground level, which is mostly mechanical spaces. But then there's also a shared amenity space, which is a community room, and a shared backyard as well. That'll be landscaped. And then the second floor, we have a 1-bedroom unit that's a live-in manager's unit, and offices for the Alley Fournier Center. Next slide, please. So this is just an up close of the typical shared housing unit. So you can see that there's 8 bedrooms, 3 in the back, 1 in the front, split between 2 levels, so duplexes. They'll have workstations, kitchenette, really big living room, and there'll also be 4 bathrooms per shared housing unit, as well as washer and dryer, so laundry facilities as well, all of which will be shared. Next slide, please. So on the left is a rendering of the building, and on the right you can see how it will be, how all the floors will be split up. So the first and second floor will not be residential, and then the 8 floors above that will be the duplexes. Next slide, please. So this is rendering of the lobby. Like I said, we are in the floodplain, so we do have to elevate the first floor, which is those stairs sort of in the middle of the picture there. And then on the right-hand side, we'll also have a lift. The building will have an elevator that goes up and down the entire building, so it will be completely accessible. Next slide, please. Here's just another rendering of the lobby. There'll be 24-hour security, and that's where the desk on the right-hand side there will go. Next slide, please. This is the community room or multi-purpose room where the Ali Fournier Center can utilize this room to do activities or to have classes or whatever they need to be doing. Next slide, please. And this will be the second floor lobby. So through the sort of glass over there, there'll be offices utilized by the Ali Fournier Center, where the residents can meet social workers or utilize those spaces how they need to. Next slide, please. So this really shows the shared housing concept. This is a typical duplex unit. Next slide, please. And here's a view of it looking onto 106th Street. Next slide, please. So still in the typical unit, you can see the study and work area. Next slide, please. The shared kitchen, which is very large, big enough for 8 people to sit in. Next slide, please. Just another view of the kitchen. Next slide. And this is the typical rooming unit. So it is a pretty small bedroom. It has a twin bed in this rendering, but still enough room. And this will be for one person to occupy. So they'll have their own bedroom. Next slide, please. So this is a rendering of the shared rear yard. We've engaged Terrain to do our landscape architect, and it will only be accessible to residents of 244 of the Share NYC building. Next slide, please. And this is my favorite part of the presentation. So like I said, the lot is currently a vacant lot. It's located on 106th Street, which has lots of traffic going back and forth. The lot tends to gather garbage just because it's a fence. So in collaboration with Groundswell that does public art, along with residents of the Ali Fournier Center and the staff from Ascendant, we collaborated together on this temporary mural, which is currently installed. If you walk down there, you can see it right now. And when we do construction, this mural will come down, but we'll try and save it and put it into the building. And then we also will look at other opportunities to have art or murals on the building as well. Next slide. Cool. And that's the end of the presentation. You can see this beautiful sunset rendering. It looks like it could have been of today. It was such a nice day out. Excellent. And I'm open to any questions as well.
Derek, thank you so much for presenting. Thank you, AL, as well for providing the presentation. I'm always impressed by what you guys are doing in terms of construction and thinking through how things can work within the community. Angel told me about the presentation beforehand, and it's checking all the boxes. I'm just really impressed by what you guys are doing in terms of just creativity and just the share space that's being made affordable and available to the members from Ali Fournier. I do have a few questions, obviously. So is this going to be a project? Is Ali Fournier, I guess, kind of funding this at all, or is this all kind of through, where's the funding coming from for this? And then the second question is, how will you decide who will be the residents of this? Will it be a process through Ali Fournier? Will this be through Ascendant? How are you kind of funneling out who will be residents for the property?
Absolutely. Thank you for the kind words. This is why we like coming to the committees. That's what we like to hear.
Feeding stuff, yeah.
We can just end it right there. We don't have to answer questions now. Okay. So let me think. Okay, so where is the funding coming from? So this is a joint venture between Ascendant Neighborhood Development and the Ali Fournier Center. they do have a stake of ownership in the building. The building will be built using the Supportive Housing Loan Program, which is a program through HPD,
Yeah.
along with 9% tax credits, which is federal funding that goes through HPD and then is awarded. So the building itself will be built with government funding or funding from the city, and also hopefully with Resolution A funding as well. And the programming will be funded through the 1515 project, which provides social services for supportive housing. How are people going to move into the building? So the funding or the restrictions attached to the 1515 funding necessitates that folks moving into the building have to be between 16 and 24. They have to be formerly homeless, and they have to be under 60% AMI. There'll be referrals from the shelter system, and Ali Fournier Center has been doing this a while, and they have connections to other service providers in the city too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Always just wanting to hear the breakdown for affordability, how you get to that, because there are so many developers that, you know, say that it can't be done or they can't do it, or, you know, for whatever reason. And so I'm always like, well, there are people that are doing it. I know that it's not, you know, I know that you can't do it all the time. And I know there's so many special programs and it's not an easy task to do. But the fact that it can be done, I always love to hear how we were able to attain that. So thank you for.
Oh, I should specify though. So because it's through the supportive housing loan program, and because it's supportive housing, it won't be like a unit, like an affordable unit that'd be on like Housing Connect. So
Right. It's not out, right.
Right.
No, I understand. It's more or less, it's not shelter per se, but under that same realm. Yeah. Got it.
I
Got
know
it.
you can, Marissa. I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you. Jessica?
Thanks, Marissa. Thanks, Derek and Nael, for making the rounds. And I think that this is an epic kind of making of the rounds. I just want to acknowledge every time I see you present on the project and learn a little bit more about it. There's a little bit more development in the project. I think it was years and years and maybe even years ago that we first sort of heard about this. And you sort of ask, what does this have to do with economic development and culture? But I think what was realized, first I just want to acknowledge a unit with eight little stools at that counter. That's a big family, and I think it's that's exciting, to sort of see happen. It of course it's not going to be perfect every day, but I think there's really a kind of an intention of seeding opportunity to make a very special home. And I think that while the residents you will be serving need to be of a certain age when they are land here, they will not age out. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So I think that, that just to speak to building a culture, these are our future neighbors, and they, I think that's a very special thing culturally, that East Harlem is a kind of a mecca and a place for people to find a home and put down roots and really stabilize and build a life. So thank you for, sorry, cat in a box, what fun. Thank you for continuing to make the rounds. And I think it is so relevant at so many committees, and I'm really glad that you went that extra mile to continue to share and build understanding around the work. So no real question, but just thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have to, and echoing Jessica in her remarks, I also wanted to ask about, is there any way to, and I know Ali Forney is connected throughout the city, but one, thinking about, obviously being in a certain community, I'm always thinking about, look, are we able to kind of give some preference to individuals that are already here, that are already familiar with this community and with this neighborhood in any way? So just throwing that out there for consideration and for you to think through as, that you're planning everything. And then also in regards to, to work in the workforce, and then also connecting that to the community, right? So again, in this neighborhood, there are individuals that meet the need for both, right? For the housing component and then also for the work component. And so just throwing that out there, that's something for you to consider, as you move forward in the planning of how everything will be done, and also what it looks like for people that live here that also need this, right? And I think it would be a great example for them to then be housed in an area where people may have seen them in another situation, and now here they are taking advantage of the opportunities that avail them within the community. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So to that point, so because of how the referrals are made through like various systems of supportive housing, there is no local preference. However, I do think, there are obviously folks in the East Harlem community that would benefit or would qualify for this building, of course. And then also having the Ali Forney Center in our neighborhood is also going to add a benefit, that there's going to be 32 folks moving in that will have the services to stabilize themselves and to become part of the community is the goal.
That would be awesome. And just making the connection here, because I love when partnerships come out of this committee. That's my heart. But if there's anyone that you guys are connected to and know of that may need work, and then want to work with Alexis and Classical Theater of Harlem in some way, that are connected to Ali Forney and through this project or what have you, that would be awesome. So just, swirling that about out there as well. So are there any other questions regarding this project? Angel, go ahead.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Derek and Al. And thank you, to Ascendant for, like I say it every time that I get, it's not that difficult to do this, to speak and be willing to engage in a conversation with the community board. So thank you again and always. My question is how this, why this presentation is before the Economic Development and Culture Committee. So, we wanted to parse it out so that we can have the time to talk about the different aspects of the project. So this is a construction project, once it's completed, we know what that is, what you presented this evening, but it has to be built. People are going to be getting hired. There's going to be contracts let, right? And I think at one of the recent presentations, Chris might have said that, a contractor had not been selected yet. If you could clarify on that, and then, if you could speak to us now to the extent that what if any plans you all have in place or are mulling over about, seeking to, hire locally and, contract locally in the construction of this project.
Sure, absolutely. Angel, good to see you again. I was actually going to have you do the presentation tonight.
There I am.
Thank you for running it for us. So in regard to why we're at economic development, so it is a construction project. We were waiting to get questions about contracting. So no, we still have not chosen a general contractor. It's a very particular project, so it's been a process. When we do, I'm sure we'll be willing to come back here and give absolute specifics. But what we can commit to now is that we will commit to local hiring and work with local workforce development training programs and meet the MWBE requirements, and hopefully aim to exceed them. We know that there's different workforce groups in the neighborhood that we have partnerships with already, and you all know where to find us. So we will definitely be engaging with the community board for input on that as well once we finalize the contractor.
Thank you, Derek.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions for Ascendant? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you, guys. So there's no ask, just verifying. There's no ask this evening, right? No. Okay. So we'll just look to hear more about this project, as you guys move along. Again, thank you for presenting and just being an example of just thinking through, all the ways to utilize arts housing culture within the community. So thank you both.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Okay. So moving forward. Oh, and also, I'm sorry, before you drop, Derek and Ayel, if you haven't, can you drop your information in the chat? So that Alexis, if she's still on, if she wants to connect with you and speak with you further, she can do so.
Yeah, already took down the address.
Perfect. Okay, great. Wonderful. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Okay. So, Giselle, are you leading our conversation on the budget?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to bring back to the committee pretty much some of the things that we had discussed during our last district needs and budget meeting. Clearly, we're starting the process of the submission of next year's budget. And I wanted to just bring back some information and notify the committee members of some changes. For example, just incorporating in our meeting starting September, I would say like a part of the meeting, a piece of the meeting, a quick 10-15 minutes, just to relay anything that has been done in terms of the budget for our submission of each submission of the committee for the budget in whole. So not necessarily waiting for the committee to engage during the meetings, more so doing the work behind the scenes and then just bringing back that information and getting any feedback, obviously, from the committee members during that part of the meeting. So if that makes sense. It'll help us in terms of, keeping things moving, running in a more I would say like quicker pace. Went over the documents that Angel sent over. I know it's a lot, but please take a look at it. Anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. I noticed a decrease in NYPL. And that's major for our community. Libraries are very important, especially, the two that we have up and coming now on 125th and the other location. So I think that we should, as a committee, attend the public hearing on the 18th. There is some time we got 2 days to register to try to attend. It's at 10 a.m. and it will be for the Cultural Affairs Libraries International Intergroup Relations. There was an SBS hearing on today at 12:15 in the afternoon. I don't know if anybody was able to make it, but it was pretty much just on finances and stuff like that. But it's very important as a committee that we, go to these public hearings and give in our our side of, for our community and advocate for, for things that we may see that, we need and maybe getting cut. I saw a decrease in monies for EDC, specifically the Work Investment Act. Again, if any of you have revised these documents more than I have, they're very lengthy and they can be confusing, but what helps me is just kind of breaking it up, going part by part and like Googling stuff that I don't know. Just sitting there for an hour on the weekend and trying to break down, what the negative signs means, what the parentheses means, all that stuff. If you want to sign up for the public hearings, I know that this is all information online that you can get, but the number is 212-788-6936. And if you need me to put it in the chat, I can put it. And there's also an email that you can reach out to. We're in May, and pretty much what we should be talking about is just providing public testimony at city council hearings in May, which I just explained. I believe the full board has to approve any testimony that we submit. So I think that if we're,
I'm sorry,
you know,
Giselle.
go ahead.
It doesn't need to be approved. Testimony does not need to be approved.
Okay, it doesn't need to go to full board. They don't need to
Nope.
revise what we see. Okay. So, do they need to, if we draft though, Angel, something, if we draft the testimony, let's say, for example, on behalf of the decrease on the money in NYPL, does that need to go to full board?
No, if you're taking a position that's contrary to position of the board and presenting it as, as an existing position of the board, then yes. But if you're just, inquiring or submitting a question or clarification or whatever, something that's consistent with existing board policies and positions, you do not need to get it. You don't need a full board vote for that.
Okay, that's why we need you, Angel, because when I read it, that's what I understood. All right, thank you. Okay, great. So then that's clarification for me. So, as a committee, do we want to draft a testimony for the decrease for NYPL? I'm going to submit something if anybody wants to partake, if anybody wants to help out, add some ideas, add any type of wording, please do send it to me so that I can send it in before this week, this month, midweek. We're already on Tuesday. So if you guys can give me some type of writing in Thursday, then I'll draft something, send it to Angel, and we'll take it from there. Anything that I submit, obviously I'll report to you guys in June. And that's it pretty much. That was just me, reporting back to you guys what we discussed in our last meeting. So if you have any questions or anything, let me know.
Thank you so much, Giselle. Thank you for going through, the process, seeing what we need to do, how we're supposed to move about, and then what our response, could be, and then also opening it up for any additional responses to what you might create. I'm going to open the floor to Stephanie and then Angel.
Thank you, Chair. Giselle, thank you so much for bringing this up. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. What she says is completely correct. When it comes to testifying, though, they're only taking public testimony through Zoom, and it'll be May 24th that they'll be doing that. So you have until May 24th to do that, and you can sign up to do, like I said, Zoom testifying, or you can just submit the testimony where it's just a paper submission and they'll read it. So I just wanted to add that caveat to it. But thank you so much, Giselle. And please, anyone else who may be in my district needs and budget committee, what you see Giselle doing, that's what we're supposed to do. And I appreciate her being an example.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks for that additional information. Angel?
Thanks, Marissa, and thanks, Giselle, for speaking up on that. I'm happy to help you with the crafting of the testimony. And my dog is also happy to help you with the crafting of the testimony. And then just a very, very, very brief, I promise, editorial on the NYPL stuff. It's everyone here's entire lifetime, every time that there's a budget issue, the mayor's always proposed cutting funding to the libraries. And when you look at the number, you compare it to what they're very eager to increase in other places, it pales in comparison. But the impact of those small cuts, comparative small cuts to the impact to the NYPL budget are cataclysmic, right? In terms of their impact to people that rely on public libraries. If you've been to a public library, it's always full of people, and there's always people using it. Public libraries are very popular and very needed by everyone in every community, especially communities of people that are new to the country, new to the area, people that are looking to turn their lives around, people looking to make a career change, people that are going through trauma, people that broke up with somebody. The libraries are full. That's an invaluable resource. And I think it's shameful that every time that there's another mayor, and it's all of them, it doesn't matter if it's the current one or the previous ones, they all go after the budget of the public libraries, it's ridiculous. They're not seeing the value to people that rely on public libraries. So that was my short editorial.
Okay, thanks, Angel. Sorry, you just kind of abruptly stopped, so I wasn't sure if you were completely done. So, but thank you.
Because I get excited about it, so I knew I was going to keep going, so I shut myself up.
Okay. I was like, did he mute himself? Like you were, you know, like you were in the middle. So thank you. Thanks, Angel. Are there any other questions or comments on this topic? Jessica?
Just a note, Giselle, thank you, Marissa, for the floor. Thanks, Giselle, for doing that work and for your continued commitment to keeping the process manageable. I regret, in what you lose in necessary efficiency is the ability to kind of work together collectively. And so I would encourage there to be, while focusing committee time necessarily on the type of share backs that you've just offered today, which are super effective, to also kind of provide some opportunity for a little bit of brainstorming as we're, I know we're limited in some respects, but to make sure that that opportunity doesn't disappear, and whether that happens informally or whether it's a kind of a periodic shout out at various points in the process when you see some work up ahead to kind of give a shout out to committee members who may be able to contribute an hour or two over coffee or lemonade or whatever to spitball a bit. I think that's always welcome, and to make myself available to contribute so that we kind of hit the ground running at every point in the process. That being said, happy to contribute some line items downloaded straight from Angel's brain to support the effort in crafting some testimony.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you,
I
Jessica.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we are, if there are no more questions, we are going to move on. So Angel, if you can advance, thank you. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this under, let's just go, let's move forward to new business. So new business, we do have a funding request. Oh, I'm sorry, Jessica.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it falls under old business. I just wanted to make the committee aware that Eugene and I had a conversation with regard to the push for East Harlem as a kind of a theater hub. And I'd like to follow up and have another conversation with Eugene about that in the next couple of weeks. So maybe in June, there's a little bit more of something needed to report where it was a very fruitful exchange. And I think, at some point, leveraging board's interest in economic and culture development in East Harlem and supporting the bringing together of all of those cultural resources here through organization and making consolidated asks of our city agency partners would be the direction that we would be moving in. So I just wanted to share that with the committee, and Eugene, if it's okay with you, to follow up in the next couple of weeks and have another conversation. Thank you, Marissa.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Jessica. Eugene?
Thank you, Chairman Mack. Thank you very much for meeting with me, Jessica. It was very, it helped me get my brain together on what's going on. But one of the things I wanted to bring to the attention of the committee was that I've been researching the Hispanic Federation's contract with EDC to manage the theater at the Julia de Burgos. They were supposed to provide 1,700 hours of programming every year, which they haven't done. They were supposed to put a community organization together, not-for-profit, to run it in their place. They didn't do that. The committee that they did put together never filed a 990, so they lost their not-for-profit status. This place is a resource that we should be using every week to generate some economic activity in the community around 106th Street. And I think we need to look into EDC's contract with the Hispanic Federation to see why they keep renewing it, even though they are underperforming. Thank you.
Thank you, Eugene. Thank you for bringing that forward. I know that you had mentioned this and a few other cultural institutions in regards to providing opportunities for artists and for plays within the community. So, you know, we'll continue to see how that conversation can roll over into our summer months and then into next year as well.
I would like the support of the committee to investigate the contract EDC has with the Hispanic Federation.
Okay, so I'm going to, honestly, I will approach that. I would like to pass that to our upcoming chair because I will honestly not be here. I'm happy to vote on it now, but this will be, you know, something that we would have to discuss as a committee for the year coming up as to how specifically you would like to do this. As opposed to just meeting to review and more or less the actions around it.
I have no problem with that, Chairman Mack. You know, I'm always open to discussing it. I just wanted to alert the committee that
Okay,
this is going on at the Julia de Burgos, and in my opinion, we're getting screwed.
understood. Especially if there are agreements that are not being agreed upon or not being moved on. So completely understood that. I think that that would be something that would be, you know, good to review. But again, I don't want to just assume or move forward for the committee. Stephanie?
No problem.
I'm just wondering if without us doing any research that we want to do we know when the contract is up? Do we have any of that information right now?
I have it. I think it's coming up in 2 years. It was renewed 2 years ago. So I think it was a 4-year contract. But I have that information now. Send it into the Angel, and maybe Angel can share it with Stephanie. Or you can come by my house since you know where I live now.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that question. And if there's money due to do programming that's that should be used, then definitely it's something to look into. So thank you, Eugene, for bringing that up.
It's $80,000 the councilwoman gave to them.
Okay, that's quite a bit. Yeah. Okay. All right. So Angel, we are going to move to new business. So we do have a funding request from Uptown Grand Central. Angel, not sure if you're able to share the actual request on screen and or the breakdown.
Yeah, you got to give me a minute. I got to find it in my email.
Okay, no problem.
I'll project it as soon as I find it.
Okay, no problem. So the request is coming from Uptown Grand Central to help with some of the funding for the open streets, which she mentioned earlier in the conversation. And so if you all remember, there was a conversation, Jason Villanueva actually indicated that each committee has a allotment of $500 to spend before the year is up. If we don't use it, we will lose it. And so as a committee, for us, one thing that we can do that would be beneficial is to put some of the funds towards the Open Streets Initiative, which has a hefty budget, but we know is very beneficial for the entire community. So Angel is sharing this on screen. I am going to also let Carrie speak to the request a bit, and then what we will do is vote on supporting this initiative.
Thank you, Marissa. Yeah, so this is going to be the 2020, 21, 22, 23, the 4th year of Open Streets at 101st 100th Street near Restaurant Row. There's about 15 businesses there, restaurants ranging from Italian to Thai to Mexican to Brazilian. There's a moose bar right down the hill. Now there's an ice cream shop. So lots of different amazing businesses to explore. And then also at La Marqueta, even since last summer, there's been a whole bunch of new activity inside the market. So there's now even more things. You know, there was the French Bistro for a while, and now we have Cocotazo, which is a Puerto Rican home style restaurant. There's going to be a new Asian fusion place coming in the very back eventually. I don't know how fast. EDC, it moves as fast as it can. But so that's becoming more and more active too, especially on Sundays for brunch. So we're excited to be back and doing open streets again, and also to try to, like, you know, really narrow down on how it's going to move forward past the pandemic. During the pandemic, it was kind of throw the spaghetti at the wall, just figure out, you know, what would work. And so the open streets kind of became kind of like a big stew, a wonderful community stew of all kinds of things: small businesses, people that were having church service outside, people that had birthday parties, libraries, crafting, music. And Angel, there's a whole bunch of pictures at the bottom of that presentation if you want to scroll, but you don't have to. Lots of different things. And yeah, here we go. He's going. So you just keep going. It just, yeah, they can see. Thank you very much. But so you can just see some of the images from this past year. That's the one at La Marqueta. And then this is the open street at 101st Street. And, you know, the goal during the pandemic was to provide as much time as possible that people could be outside and just kind of open space. And now post pandemic, we're trying to kind of tighten up the hours some, make it more about direct business promotion, because, you know, people's activities patterns have changed, people's relationship with small businesses have changed, and also the community has kind of, you know, been built up around each of the streets, so it's changing every year. It's kind of a moving target every year. The other moving target is the Department of Transportation, which is the sponsor for the Open Streets program, has cut this year's funding. So we have a third of the funding this year that we need to make it happen. And the budgets are not small, simply because you're trying to activate all the way from June to September, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which, even though we're doing like small, very community-based things that, you know, we're recycling paint from materials from the arts, we're, you know, getting donated plants, we're getting everything donated and, you know, as much community-based as possible. But, you know, three months of programming staffing wise, and just, you know, to have some live music and pay the artists a decent amount of money, you know, is not cheap. So we're looking at, we need to raise several tens of thousands of dollars, which we're working on. And Uptown Grand Central is chipping in, DOT is chipping in what it's chipping in, Union Settlement's chipping in, Civitas is chipping in, Ascendant, which was on the call, I'm not sure if they've all left, they actually, they don't chip in financially, but in kind, they let us use one of their buildings. So that's where all the magical stuff, that the swimming pools and the books and the paint and everything is stored in an Ascendant building 1 block away. So, you know, this is a real community effort. Community Board 11 was one of the founding entities of the first year. And honestly, it was Jessica also on this call, a lot of schlepping of plants late at night and chairs and tables to make it happen. And I know the community board has had several, we've hosted, you know, several different community board events at the open street. So we'd really be happy to partner and receive any support this year. It does have a direct economic impact on the businesses that are nearby, and also has that nice community element. So that's the presentation, and we'd love to incorporate any ideas that the committee has. You know, we do, as I mentioned, we do like the children's activities in the afternoon, live music and more adult stuff towards the evening. And then the open streets, we've traditionally had some kind of like more direct economic development event, like a tasting tour where people go into the businesses and buy tickets and get samples. We did an open street showcase at La Marqueta where all the businesses came out on the street and did samples. So we want to do more of that and have more of that direct economic connection as the program moves from being this big community thing into, you know, an accompaniment to clusters of businesses.
Thank you, Carrie. Are there any questions about either the funding or what the funding will go towards? Giselle?
My question is not towards the funding. I'm glad to hear that they're making the connection with businesses, because one of the things that I observed in the last 2 years was that on days that there were like a lot of street activity events or something really big going on where it kept people outside, a lot of businesses would be like not the ones around the open streets, but like further down, it would be very slow. And you'd think like, oh, it's just a slow day, or oh, people are probably in the beach. But no, people are out in these, open street events. And it's great to like incorporate the businesses into the event, so people know like, okay, we're a little bit inside, we're a little bit outside, so it helps everybody. So thank you so much, Carrie. But that's my only comment.
Thank you, Giselle. And I'm excited to say that the business is around 100. There haven't, the Merchants Association at La Marqueta is still kind of building out. So they're kind of growing, and I think they just had one of their first meetings recently. But the businesses at 100th and 101st Street, I'm excited because the first year, they didn't necessarily know each other. And just this past week, we had a meeting and they all came and like, we're sharing ideas. And, it's also a vehicle for the businesses to get to know each other and work together. So I'm excited. They were super excited. So, I think good things can come of that too. If we give them a little bit of, these are the possibilities. Bargoyana is going to do a big Brazilian festival. She was just texting me about where can she get a mechanical bull. So I'm going to work on that. But so, it's exciting to create something that can get more people excited about being part of the community.
Perfect. Jessica?
Thanks, Marissa. And Carrie, just to, ask the question, the picture we're looking at on this slide is at East 101st, which for those of you who haven't been there, it's also the site of the Children's Aid redevelopment. And, that's something that I would hope as that project continues to come to fruition, that the work that you're doing in stewarding the open street right nearby can influence the design process to accommodate, that public open space that has been nurtured right outside the doors. Ultimately, that will become even more of a place when the construction is realized. And so simple things like integrating a blank wall area that's conducive to film projection, or things that can make the outside of the building part of the public open space, and vice versa, is, I know early on, and it's been a stop and start, but to continue to reassert how important it is to have community-based stakeholders at the table in this very kind of point of that project development where it's not fully cooked, and the community is growing around it already. So I know that's probably not necessarily another thing that you need to do, but maybe we can meet out on the open street and continue to knock on that door, so that the conversations that need to happen in the process that can not happen when it's a closed door can continue to happen as would benefit both the real estate developer and more so the community-based stakeholders around them. Thank you.
And thank you. Oh, I was just going to say, I didn't notice that Xavier was on the call before. I didn't see his box. Xavier was always also a schlepper of plants early on. And Xavier, I don't know if you have any updates about that particular to share, or that's for another meeting, and in terms of the development.
So I can share with the development with the conversations with Oren Everhar. We are in a holding pattern right now, and again, some of these conversations with the community advisory group, with Children's Aid Society, will have the official notice. But what is publicly accessible is that the filing for the permits have been filed, but not approved for demo. And that we may see in the coming weeks some activity. To what degree is TBD. And again, Oren has committed to keeping us posted as quickly as possible, both Children's Aid Society and the community. He understands the need and importance of looping everyone in as soon as possible. So that's the update that I can share now. And again, we've been following up and keeping active tabs on the permits that have been pulled but not approved. So that's where it is. So we're going on the best course of action, which is we continue the status quo. We don't believe there's going to be need of street parking at this point in time, nor the Saturday variance. Sorry for the train noise in the background. And if anything changes, his contractors will let him know and us know ASAP. So there's a lot still that is very fluid.
Sorry, just to clarify, I wasn't so much talking about construction impacts in the immediate term, but more long-term planning together about community involvement. And Xavier, I just decipher from your comment that that would happen through the community advisory group. So Carrie, I don't know if you in Uptown.
Yeah,
Grant or the open.
So,
part of that.
I'm so sorry because we're so off track. I know we're
thank
talking
you,
about
Marissa.
something, but yeah, let's keep it. So the initial ask was about funding for the open streets. And just wanted to know if there were any questions about the specific amount or the what the funds would go towards. Okay, Stephanie?
Yeah, so the ask is for 500, and from my understanding, each committee has $500.
Correct.
So each committee is going to give $100 for this if we agree to this, right?
Well, so it would be 500 if you wanted to. So like, let's say, for instance, if we would do 500, if there's another committee that wants to do 500, what have you, that could happen. But if tonight we're voting on 500 from Echo Dev.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so is there anyone that would like to make a motion to support the request for $500 towards the open streets? Stephanie?
I'd like to motion the $500 for the open street.
Okay, and I saw Eugene first, second.
I second that motion.
Okay, Angel, can you call the roll, please? Angel? Oh, yeah.
Committee members, please respond with your vote when I call your name. Stephanie Arroyo,
Yes.
April Autry,
Yes.
Adem Briha,
Yes.
Devin Crenshaw,
Yes.
Marissa Mack,
Yes.
Giselle Malave,
Yes.
Jessica Morris,
Yes.
Eugene Rodriguez,
Yes.
and Jenny Tromsky.
I think she's on anymore.
Yeah, no, I thought I heard something. No? No, she's there, I heard her. Motion carries.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yay.
everybody. Come see you on the street.
Good. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Oh, hi, Jenny. Okay, and sorry, Giselle, your hand was up.
No, I'm sorry. It was a second.
Okay, perfect. Angel?
I think we have a couple of verbal commitments from other committees for that same request. So we have executive on Thursday, so we'll do another vote on Thursday to see if we can't up that contribution, but we'll leave it for their vote.
Perfect. Yeah, I was gonna say how the chairs go, but perfect. Thank you so much, Angel. Thank you, Carrie. We are looking forward to utilizing the open streets as well. So thank you for bringing this request forward. Happy that our committee and our board will be assisting.
With the logo on the banner. CB11's logo is always on the banner. So y'all come out to 101, 100, and 115, and you will see it right there, as it has been every year. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other orders of business? Angel and Giselle, you both have your hands up. I don't know if those are old hands or new.
My hand doesn't go down. I don't know why.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's getting you ready for next year. That's why. Just keep the hand up. Just keep it up. Just keep it up. And Angel, I saw your hand went down. So I'm thinking that you're okay. So if there's no other additional business for this evening, we can adjourn. Angel, can you call the roll, please?
Certainly. Stephanie Arroyo. April Autry.
All right, here.
Present.
Gotcha. Adem Briha.
Present.
Devin Crenshaw.
Present.
Marissa Mack.
Present.
Giselle Malave.
Present.
Jessica Morris.
Here.
Eugene Rodriguez.
Present.
And Jenny Tromsky. You have quorum.
All right, great. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Have a great night. Hope you get to enjoy some of this warm weather today. It's still a little bit
Good
of
night, everyone.
night out. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Good
Thanks,
night.
everybody.
So-
Stephanie, you got me in my underwear when you came by.